Siri, do you hate my guts?
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
That's what I thought. I don't normally make negative videos. In fact, I've never made a negative video. I just make videos on how to use your iPhone and iPad, including videos on using Siri. But if you've ever struggled with Siri like I have, then you know what this video is all about. I remember when Siri was first introduced back in 2011 on the iPhone 4S. I was really excited at the thought of asking my phone to call my wife or daughter, and bam, it would just happen. And Siri pretty much complied with those requests. It was kind of a cool feature. But through the years, as Siri became more sophisticated, I frankly became more frustrated. And it wasn't just me either. Even the Apple team that was recently working on the Vision Pro headset thought Siri was so bad that they needed to create something from scratch to control their new gadget. But honestly, I don't really care about any of that. What I care about is Siri doing the things I ask her to do on a day-to-day basis. And the points of failure have gotten to be so many that it just drives me nuts. I've made a lot of videos on how to use the various apps on your iPhone and iPad, and I go through detailed processes showing how to create a quick note or create a reminders list or even a simple shortcut. And invariably, I'll get a comment or two from really smart viewers saying, "Hey, you can just ask Siri to do that," and they'd be right. But I've steered clear from that because I really try to take the frustration out of learning how to use your iPhone and iPad. And however frustrating it is to create a reminders list from scratch, it's way more frustrating to ask Siri to create the list and then have Siri fail. Let me tell you just a few ways Siri has failed for me recently, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I asked Siri to call my daughter Lindsay 1,000 times, and Siri has made all of those calls. But recently, while I was walking Scout and wearing my AirPods, I asked Siri to call Lindsay. Siri replied, and I kid you not, "Lindsey Graham is a senator from South Carolina. You can find out more about him on your iPhone." What? So I asked Siri again, and she gave the same answer. And then I asked Siri to call Lindsay using her full name, and she made the call. The next day, I asked Siri to call Lindsay, not using her full name, and she made the call. Totally inconsistent responses. I have an Apple Watch Ultra and a cellular plan for the watch, and I like to listen to podcasts when I walk Scout using my AirPods. So I asked Siri to play Mac Power Users Podcast, a podcast I'm subscribed to in the Podcasts app. Siri used to play the podcast, but now tells me the podcast is not in my Apple Music library. What? Of course it's not. It's a podcast, not music. I can ask Siri to play a podcast and she fails about half the time. Same words, same request. Sometimes Siri works, sometimes not. The inconsistency just drives me nuts. Recently, I asked Siri to play some smooth jazz music and she complied. I then asked her to turn up the volume and she did. I then asked her to stop. Siri did stop the music, but then said, "There's nothing to stop here. Check your internet connection." What? I'm out walking and you're on a cellular connection. Yet another example of a Siri fail. I asked Siri if I had any appointments on my calendar, and she said, "Working, working," and then just went silent. This happens literally all the time. Another constant Siri fail for me is with Apple Maps. This is just one example, but it's happened so many times that I've given up asking Siri for directions. I live in Raleigh and I asked Siri for directions to a local government office. Siri gave me directions to a restaurant in Houston, Texas. I am not kidding. Not just once, but multiple times. I finally pulled my car over, opened Maps on my phone, typed in the physical address, and got directions that way. Again, this happens just often enough to make you turn your back on Siri. So Siri consistently fails at the most simple requests: making phone calls, playing music, getting driving directions, playing a podcast, and frankly, just about everything else. But the problem for me is the inconsistency. Siri works just often enough to keep me coming back. With every new software update, I'm thinking, things will be fixed, but they never are. And then when Apple hyped the new Apple Watch Series 9 saying Siri now had on-device functionality, I ran out and bought the new watch. But it's still the same mess. Not a single thing in the way I use Siri improved. There are a lot of technical reasons why Siri is the world's worst digital assistant. I did a bunch of research for this video and was going to fill you in on all the details, and then I thought, who cares? What good does it do me or you, frankly, to know why Siri fails? We can't fix Siri. Only Apple can do that. There is a lot of chatter about Apple getting into the ChatGPT game. I don't know a lot about ChatGPT. I don't know, maybe that'll make things better, but I'm not going to hold my breath. In closing, remember how I said Siri was created in 2011 at the beginning of the video? Not true. Here's the real beginning.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.